Okay, I just put new shocks on the F100 here, and so naturally, first thing I do is load up the new engine for the Jeep. I'm gonna get this pressure washed really quick here, and see what it looks like under all this oil and grime. Now this engine, I pulled out of a truck myself. I heard it run, but it's pretty nasty, so we're gonna get it cleaned up. Okay, got done pressure washing it. We're back at the house now. Just looking at this, a lot of surface rust. That was brand new, but it's set for a while. That'll clean up, no problem. Most of the oil and grime and grease came off. That'll make it a little easier to work on, at least. Not all of it, but especially down in here. Oh, and yeah, this thing's got some oil in the intake and some water apparently, but still grimy down in there. Couldn't really get there. Didn't want to. Still had the intake tubes on. I took them off after I got done to see how much water got in the intake. Sitting water down in there, but we'll see what works and what doesn't when I get this thing in the Jeep. It's gonna be interesting. I soaked the alternator, all the electrical stuff, so it'd be cool to see how many broke sensors we got now. But I'm gonna get this thing out of the bed and probably maybe on the engine stand. I might just leave it on the Cherokee for momentarily, but I've definitely got to get that flywheel cleaned up. Maybe put a coat of oil on it. A lot of this grime came off, this grease. This is what I really wanted to get underneath here. And those freeze plugs look brand new. And that's interesting. So, oh, and while I was at it, I did run some coolant, or some, well, not coolant, but some stuff through the coolant system, some pressurized water I just ran it in the lower hose here. Good amount of nothing came out. Honestly, it was pretty clean, so that's another sign that this engine's been gone over a little bit. Let's see. Those don't appear to be brand new, but I can't really see good from this angle. So I don't know what we're working with here. I know that this engine was originally in a 94 F-150. Is that a factory plug? I can't tell. Yeah, it's got paint on it. That's a factory plug. So it may not have been gone through. I mean, I did a couple small things myself here. I put some block offs in the smog ports. But this engine was swapped into a 94 F-150 because the original one went out. And then that truck was wrecked. So I went and pulled the engine myself. Had help of some little boy who was driving. Poor guy wrecked his truck and, well, started parting it out to recoup the cost, I guess. Super unfortunate. Sucks to see one of those OBS Fords meet end like that, but I guess it's fortunate for me that we might just have a decent engine here. One thing that is worrisome on this is the oil pan had a hole rusted in it. I didn't hear any clicks or ticks or anything, and I have already put a new oil pan and gasket on it. We're gonna get this thing out of here. I'm gonna open that drain plug and see if any water comes out. Probably gonna leave it loose, that way it can, if any water does seep down, it can have a place to go. But let's get this thing out of here, and then I'll move on to something. Probably next step will be disassembling the Jeep, so let's do it. Okay, first things first, let's get the hood off. This will be a series, so there'll be a couple videos. I'm thinking that's high enough that I don't need to take it off. So we're gonna leave the hood on. First thing I'm gonna do is get this front end off though. That'll make pulling the engine easier. So I'll time lapse that real quick. Alright, I got the engine out. Starting to get the new one ready to go in here. Before I do that though, I gotta get that Bellhousing off. And then get the new Bellhousing on and the new front plate for the transmission. Trying to figure out where this thing's gonna sit. It's looking like that plate's gonna push it forward an inch, so that'll give me a little more clearance. I'm kind of wondering about the clearance I'm gonna have against the firewall. Supposedly this works, but I'll be the one to find out. That's for sure. So I need to get my cross member bolted back up and then put my jack under the front section of the transmission. That way I can take the Bellhousing off, get it off that jack stand. I'll bring the camera in closer for that. Take my clutch off. I'll wait till I get, or the clutch slave. I'm going to take the Bellhousing off, then I'll be able to get the slave off easier. It's really tight in there, so. And also another thing. Okay, these two top transmission bolts, as you can see, the head is it's pretty rough looking. I did manage to get them out, but I had to drop the trans down a little bit. Unbolted the cross member. It's pretty easy to do. No, it wasn't easy at all. It was hard. That sucked. But this is a smaller size than what it takes, and I hammered that on, and that worked pretty good. E12 it says. I don't know where the other one's at, but it's supposed to be the bigger one, or the next size up. This one I think I actually did get it with the regular size, but this one I had to hammer the small one on. So if you get in one of those situations, drop the trans down, hammer your smaller size on. It should work. Just turn it the right way and take those bolts out first. But yeah. Alright, while that's draining, I'll show you the plate. So this plate will replace this. So that bolts to the face where this was bolted, and then on the other side it comes with a piece. It comes with a shaft that goes on it, and that'll adapt me from one to the other. Probably time lapse putting it on there, but that goes on like that. It all bolts together. Alright, I got the adapter plate on finally. I had to pull it off and on a time or two just to get it right. Hopefully shouldn't have any leaks. I used RTV behind the plate because it is exposed to oil back there, and I had to pull it off because these bolts, you can't just go in the top two here. You have to have them in first. The bottoms weren't really a problem, it's just the top two. So I'm gonna get the new Bellhousing cleaned up, get some of this rust and scale and whatever that stuff is off of it, get it bolted on there, and test fit the engine for the first time. Let's do it. Okay, I'm now realizing, got this cleaned up, that so I've realized that all I got to do here is bolt this Bellhousing to the engine, and then I can bolt the combo to the trans because of the way those bolts are. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that, get the clutch set up the camera, and film that process. So, all right, let's get this bell on here. Okay, look at that, it fits. So that's good news. Let's get the clutch in there. I'm now realizing that I don't actually have hardware to install anything on that. I may be able to find some. Alright, what are the chances that the Jeep has the same size bolts as the Ford? Yep, Jeep uses the same size bolts as Ford, so get this thing bolted on with the Jeep stuff. Jeep hardware works out pretty good. This is why you don't throw anything away ever. My install tool here is a front shaft out of a 2-wheel drive transmission that I rebuilt when I did the 4-wheel drive swap on this Jeep. I didn't film that. That was before YouTube. Technically, considering I just took the Bellhousing off and the front thing, I've got enough parts I could build another 2-wheel drive X15, but it'd be 2-wheel drive. This one, of course, built it 4-wheel drive. Put the longer tail shaft in and all that. So. All right, what's next? We got to get the throwout bearing on there and get our thingamabob. All right, got the Bellhousing on. Just trying some hardware here to see what's what. Not sure if I got everything I need or not. Okay, went ahead and got the Bellhousing bolted up. I'm missing one bolt. Starter's on. So we're gonna throw this thing in real quick and see how it fits. The row. I don't think I've got the right throw out bearing either. This is coming back apart, so we're not going to put that in yet. Okay, it's the next day. I gotta get some of this stuff removed. Canister for the emissions, AC stuff. All right, we're getting close here. One issue that could be a pretty big problem: the power steering pump is in the way of the power steering box. So if this thing's got to go down more, which I think it does, that could be a problem. Also, this manifold over here is very close. Tube out of the way. Yeah. Hard to see, but that manifold is right on the frame rail. And on this side, we got steering. So it's a tight fit, but I think I can make it happen. I may have to redo the accessories. I may have to look into alternative serpentine setups or something along the lines of that. It's got to be a way to get that power steering out of the way. But I'm going to crawl underneath, take a look and see what the fitment is under there. I think it needs to come down, like I said, but we're getting close. I think it may even almost clear the hood. Nope, not at all. But I'm gonna take a look and see what clearances we got, and I'll be back. Alright, I did some thinking, and here's what we've decided. I'm going to recreate these brackets for this power steering. I'm gonna have to move the power steering pump up and out of the way. I think I can get away with just recreating the bracket for it. I would love to get rid of that smog pump, so if I mess with the serpentine system, I'm going to take it off too. It would be nice to have that AC compressor down where the smog pump is, so I'm going to attempt to do that with the serpentine system. It's just a matter of making the brackets, and what's handy about this is with a V-belt you have to make your stuff adjustable, but with serpentine you got a solid mount everything, and then once it's solid mounted and everything's in line, you rely on the tensioner to do all the work. So that'll be nice. I can just mount it up how I need, get everything nice and straight. Be nice to have a laser too to get on them pulleys, but hopefully I can make that work. But for now, just to get this engine in here, I'm gonna take the AC and power steering off of the engine and get it set down where I need it to be, and then I'll be able to make some sort of engine mounts. I've got the factory mounts. Here's one for example, and all I'm gonna do is see, this bolts like that, so it'll be facing down at a 45, give or take. So I just got to make something to bolt that to. Shouldn't be too difficult. I've got a couple ideas floating around how to do it, so I'm going to set the camera up, get these pulleys taken off here, and then figure out how in the world to make motor mounts. Okay, off camera there, I went ahead and got this thing bolted to the transmission. Got 2 bolts. Well, I got 3 bolts in it. It's sitting pretty close to where it's going to have to be at. I have got to make some engine mounts to get this thing off this cherry picker. But as you can see, it's very tight. Can't really see down in there very well, but it's tight. I'm starting to figure out why no one else has done this. It's tight. I may have to keep the engine shifted over to one side a little bit, so I have room. So I have room for the clutch pedal and the clutch shift arm thing, clutch fork. I'm gonna have to make something with that. I'll show you eventually. And my serpentine system does not look like it's gonna work. It may work now that I've got the engine all the way back here. I didn't have room next to the steering box, but now that I've got this thing back a little bit, it may work, especially if I offset everything to one side. That could be what makes this work. But it looks like it's a little low right now. I may have to bring this up a little bit because it needs to be hear things cracking and popping. Needs to be somewhere in there, I think. See, the Cherokee mounts came off of this lip right here, so it's going to be interesting. It's be difficult to make mounts. I'll probably end up bolting them underneath the frame or somewhere, or doing a plate on the edge, doing a plate right there, and then coming off the side or something like that. I'll figure it out. It's going to be difficult to make mounts though. Just kind of looking at it and making ideas right now. You can see it barely fits the exhaust down there. That's kind of, and it's right on that arm. Got this thing really wedged. I can't even move it now. But it's coming along. One thing I can do is bring it forward some more, because it's not like I don't have much room in that aspect. I just don't want to. But that would make a lot more room for a couple things here. That exhaust is not going to work. I'll probably make headers. Might make up my own serpentine system, or just redo some brackets with some metal or some steel or something. Get rid of the aluminum brackets because they don't work. If it would come over a little bit, would be alright. But probably gonna pull the manifolds off and see what's hitting what. But for now, it's sitting in there close to where it needs to be. So next step, I'll pull the manifolds off, make some engine mounts. I may take the rest of the serpentine stuff off just so I can kind of see better what's going on, and we'll go from there. Okay, another little update here. I got the accessory drive off and went ahead and connected chain to the front. Trying to get my engine mounts figured out. I got one of the factory Ford mounts on this side here. I'm thinking I'm gonna bolt a plate to the frame rail there, and then have some arms that come down and attach to the stud on the factory Ford mount. I think that'll work. Just got to figure out locations. Got to pull the exhaust manifold off on this side, definitely, because it's in the way of everything. And may pull the engine out again here soon. That way I can see on the firewall where it's been hitting. I rattled it around a little bit, so I'm sure there's marks on the firewall. I know for sure that this area over here is really tight. So I may have to take a sledgehammer or grinder or something. Really don't want to cut the firewall. I'd rather hammer it out. So we'll see what happens. But for now, that's the progress. I will get these manifolds off next. Okay, so making mounts. So what I've done is bolted a plate of metal over there and bolted a plate of metal over there. And I've got a smaller plate of metal bolted to the mounts. It's all scrap metal. So got a piece of 1/4 inch thick 2x2 square tube. I made a 2x2 square tube box out of cardboard, and I'm going to use that to make a template, and then whatever shape this turns out as, I will try to mimic that with metal. So I'm gonna attempt that, and I'll show you what I come up with. Okay, I got this side done, tacked in. Well, not done, but just tacked in. Gonna make clearance for my bolt, and I'm also gonna have to clear the bolt underneath, or the stud. I'll have to cut a hole out in it so I can get to that, but that's pretty much it for that. I just got to pull it off and weld it up. I'm going to do the same thing on the other side. It's going to be a little tighter and some different kind of shapes going on, but I'll get that done and then pull them off and weld them up. Okay, this is my engine mounts. I didn't film much of the process of making them. They're extremely hot, so I don't want to touch them without a glove. My crappy welds. Wouldn't call it crappy, it's just a lot of splatter from the MIG flux core stuff. Got my little hole so I can reach the bolt. This one will bolt directly to the rubber mount. This one, cut an angle in it so it's got a plate, and that plate will bolt to the rubber mount. So if I put them like, yeah, there we go. If I sit them like that, the engine will be in the middle, the plate's on the frame rail, but made a hole up there for the bolt, hole there for bolt, had to notch that one. I think they'll be plenty strong enough. It's 1/4 inch thick 2x2 square tube, and I'm not sure what size the plates are, but I'm gonna make a template and drill some more holes in the plates because there's extra holes in the frame I can mount it with. We'll get them bolted in there, and then I'll finally be able to take the cherry picker out of the engine bay, get that thing out of the way, be able to actually work. So let's do it. Okay, here's the engine mounts I made. They turned out all right. Let me get down here where I can show them off. So what you're looking at is a piece of square tube, a flat plate welded on the end, and then another flat plate on the other end with the contour of the frame. I bent it back around the frame there. I'm going to drill some holes after I pull the engine out and mount it proper. But for now it's just held with one bolt, but that is holding the engine up. It's not very safe, but I'll get around to putting more bolts in it soon. And on the other side, you can see I just went straight down off of that with it. I may get in there and weld some more support underneath it. I don't like how little is attached to there, but 2 of my bolt holes lined up on that one. So got some more welding to do on there, and I'll have that one done. But as you can see, I did make the plates contours of the frame, and then just came off of that with my mount. And those are the factory truck mounts for this engine. So it should dampen the vibrations pretty good. And as you can see, it's supporting the weight. Should dampen vibrations pretty decent with those factory rubber mounts. Also put a new rubber trans mount in there. So should be pretty decent. I think I've got this thing sitting parallel with the angle of the Jeep on the thing here. It's hard to measure. You gotta let it steady, but we're sitting roughly 6 degrees there. And then if you come over to the frame, we're sitting at roughly 6 or so degrees there. So it's sitting pretty straight, assuming the valve cover and the crank are in line. Hard telling, but I guess I could go off the top of the engine here. Can't reach it from this side, but let's see. Get that thing to stabilize. So top of the engine, we're sitting roughly 6 degrees. So everything's fairly like parallel with itself, which should be good. I'm not sure exactly where the factory engine's at. I know that the crank in this thing, it's sitting lower, I think, than I believe it's sitting much lower than where the 4.0 set. I think it set a little higher. But in order to make everything clear, that's what I had to do. And as you can see, I've got really tight clearance between the valve cover there and the firewall. And that spark plug, you can actually see down there where that spark plug has hit the that lip there. I'm most likely going to hammer on that particular spot when I get this engine back out. But that'll be it for now. Alright, I got the engine mounts done. I think I'm going to end this video here. This will be episode 1. Next episode, we'll work on mounting the clutch slave cylinder. I think I have an idea for that. And then we can move on to working on the exhaust, or maybe the lift kit. I need to get the lift kit installed. I had to buy a rather expensive lift kit in order for this to work. Did a bunch of research, looked at a lot of stuff, and in the end, at the end of the day, with the work you have to put into it, you're better off just going with the expensive lift kit. I mean, it is what it is. So I went with a 4.5 inch lift, so that should make the front axle and steering and whatnot fit, because it comes with a drop bracket for the steering and a drop bracket for the track bar, and that was the two main things that are in the way of this engine. The oil pan is shaped pretty decent. It goes around the axle pretty good. It's a truck pan, truck oil pan, so that's going to work out fine. A lot of people are wondering about the truck intake and the EFI I'm going to use on it. I'll probably end up running the speed density stuff for a while, and then maybe go to Holley or something else, see if I can find like a Mustang or a Explorer intake manifold. They flow a lot better. That would help this thing out a lot. And I may even make some headers to go on it eventually, but just for now I'm gonna run manifolds, and this will be something I can work on over time and just make it better and better as I go. But for now, just gonna get what I can done, make things work, and get this thing driving so I can drive it this winter. Then probably next summer I'll start doing upgrades and whatnot to make it run better and have more power and all that. So with that said, I'm going to end the video here. We'll see you guys next episode. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you later.